Hey guys, I'm Johnny. I'm going to be your TA for today, and today we're going to talk about functions. So what is a function? This is a function. A function in general terms is going to take in some sort of input, do stuff to the input, and then return some sort of output. So take in input, do stuff, give output. In C++, function has like a bunch of different parts. So here's a C++ function that basically does the same thing. We're going to go over the anatomy of a C++ function. So this is the return type. We're going to go over that in a later slide. This is the name. This is what we use to call the function in actual code. These are the parameters. Right now there's just one. But basically, these are our inputs to our function, and this is our return value. This is our output from our function. So functions in C++ have a bit of syntax related to them. So first, we have a declaration. This is called a function declaration. And a function declaration is us telling the program that a function called multiply takes in two integer variables, returns one integer variable, exists. This is called a definition, and this is us telling the program what our function multiply actually does. So here, now we're going to go over return types and values. So this is a function called multiply, and it has a return value of a variable called answer and a return type of int. A return type tells us what type of variable the function is going to output, and you'll notice that the return value answer, the variable answer, also has an integer type. The return value and the return type must match, otherwise you'll run into some errors. Another return type you'll see is a void return type, and this basically tells us that this function doesn't give any output. So you can think of it as just a function that takes an input and does stuff. This return type, this void return type, is often used for just functions who like to print stuff out. So now we're going to go over how to use a function. In this short program, we declare two integer variables and pass them into our function multiply. So right now, as they're passed in right now, this x is going to take on the value of this x since it comes first, and this y is going to take on a value of this y since it comes second. So if we reversed the order that we pass in these parameters, the values would also be reversed. To figure out how a function works in runtime, we can just substitute the values of these variables with the values that were passed in and walk through the function line by line. So if we do that right now, we'll get x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2, and answer is going to equal their product. So answer is going to equal to 2. So therefore, since answer is returned by this function, this variable answer is going to be set equal to the return value of multiply, or the output of multiply, and now we're going to print out answer, which is going to print out 2. So this program prints 2. This is a bit of a trickier example. In this program, we declare an integer x and set it equal to 1, and we pass this x into a function, another function multiply. This function multiply is going to multiply 3 by the passed in value of x and return it. But since we don't set the output of multiply equal to anything, nothing changes. And I also want to make clear that just because this x and this x share the same name, it doesn't change the value of this x. So this x is still going to print out 1. So this is just an example of how to use a function. So we declare 3 integer variables and we print 3 times happy birthday, you are so-and-so years old. So when we use a function, we usually want to reduce the amount of code that we write. So here's what happens when we introduce a function. So we write our function happy birthday that takes in the amount of years and prints out our output from before, and then we just call this function 3 times. So making a good function will cut down on the amount of code that you write. And that's all for today.